and welcome to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, the owner of Meraki Media Management. The End in Mind is a place where we come to share stories, tips, and strategies of many entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and just some people that aren't willing to live the traditional lifestyle. We talk about how to live outside of the box today and how to incorporate what really is important in your life to keep that end goal always in mind. Again, if you would like to reach out to me in any type of way, you can find me on Instagram at Meraki_media_management. And I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks so much and enjoy our show. Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. I just want to thank all of you so much for following our show, listening. It goes a long way with me, and I am just so appreciative of the people that come back every week. And even if you don't listen every week and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so thankful for you as well. And I'm just really excited to share some of my knowledge with you guys today. And I'm also really looking forward to this topic. It's all based around a thought process that I developed while I was working at my previous position. And I share a lot of, stories and things like that on my Instagram account as well. So if you all don't follow me yet, I definitely encourage you to do so. You can find me at Meraki_media_management. And if you guys give me a follow, shoot me a DM. Tell me that you listened to the show. I love to talk and chat in the DMs with potential clients and just fun other business owners, right? And just network through the application. That's one of my favorite things about Instagram, and that's actually the reason why I went all in on my business through Instagram, because when I decided to be a social media manager, I started to test out all of the platforms. If you know me from, my life, my past, right, you know that I rarely do anything unless I know that there's somewhat of a guarantee that it's going to work out. So before I started Meraki, I tried it all. I really, really tried it all. I went through, all of the avenues that Meraki could take. So I looked at things like LinkedIn, Facebook, all the other social platforms at that time that were available. Things like, TikTok wasn't out yet, but other applications like Clubhouse and things like that have arisen and come around. And for me, Instagram was so powerful because of my previous position, which we will get into in the next few minutes, where I share more about that approach of realizing that nobody has the most idea of what they want to do with their lives, or maybe they haven't thought about it before. I just knew that when I was leaping into Meraki, I had to give it all a go before then. So I even bought followers, because before I started this account, I had to know, if there was a quick fix to gaining followers on Instagram and gaining clients, what would be the point of starting a social media management business, right? What would be the necessity? And this type of mindset and frame of mind is how I want you all to start to approach your businesses as well. Let's find that hole in the market for you guys. What is not being fed or met by your industry currently? And how can you feed that and meet that for your clients' needs on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, however you may work with your clients. If you're a service-based company, this also works for products, right? What's your upcoming product? Do you poll people on what they need? Do you understand what your clients struggle with? And can you create something out of that, right? So that is basically how we approach Meraki Media. And I just wanted to thank you guys again for joining us today. And I really thought about launching this business when I was working at that last position. And I was surrounded by some really, really great people, very knowledgeable in their field, super intelligent with what they did. And it was such a great experience. And they seemed really happy with what they were doing. But then when I went home and, saw my mom and my dad throughout my childhood hated his job. If you listen to my first podcast episode, I share a lot about my dad, a lot about my history, my background, why I really started this podcast. And my father hated his career. He worked as an electrical company. That's all I'll say about that. And he had to manage a lot of people throughout the Northeast during his lifetime. He also had to make a lot of really difficult decisions in this type of industry. If you know anyone that works in something like telecom or that type of industry, it can be very high stress and high tense job. And my dad just grew to hate it. When he first started it, he really enjoyed it out of what I heard. And then as the years went on, things change, industries change, and he just didn't love it anymore. Like, that's the truth, right? And when you tend to not enjoy work, it ends up, at least my experience with that, it ends up leaking into the rest of your life. He wasn't really good at, maybe compartmentalizing those experiences at times. A lot of his career was what we talked about at the dinner table. A lot of, the conversations that we had were around business. And that's actually because my grandfather in my mom's side of the family was an entrepreneur himself, ran his own real estate business. So business was always a topic for me my entire life. Money was always a conversation, whether that be bad and good, right? I think we all have our own limiting beliefs around money. We don't have to get in, that's a whole nother episode, right? Not for this one. But as you experience someone that goes to their job every day and it doesn't fulfill them, right? It doesn't give them purpose anymore. It slowly started to peel away at him. And I think, because of the stress and not being able to manage it in a way that I think that he wished that he had the tools to do so, it ended up really, I think, hurting his health, right? Because we all know from statistics, stress and health coincide, right? That's why mental health is so important to me. That is why managing and maintaining my stress levels is at the top of my to-do list, because I saw my father lose his life after, a massive heart attack. He also had lung cancer and he was very ill for a long time, and I don't wish that upon anyone. And that's why I created this podcast, really, right? Like, my mom also didn't really like all of the jobs that she worked in her entire life. She bounced around a lot, which I think is very much so her personality. She's a Gemini. Shout out all my Geminis. And my mom is she's a creative, she's abstract, and I don't think she ever could find anything. Maybe aesthetics really fed that for her at that time, but as she got older, working with your hands can get difficult, right? So everybody goes through their own career journeys. But I wanted to share these experiences that I witnessed at a young age because it really shaped me into who I am today. And it's one of the reasons why I wasn't willing to continue on with a job that I knew wouldn't bring me purpose or light me up, after a year, right? It just hit a wall for me. And I'm very in tune with that side of myself because I saw how much it affected, their relationship and their relationships with other people, right? And their co-working relationships. And I didn't want that to be me and my family. And that is nothing against my parents because they were and are great parents. But it's just being aware of certain things that you want out of life. And we can all base that off of our experiences, what we've witnessed, right? So I hope that these stories encourage you to look at your daily life. Are you enjoying what you're doing? And this doesn't have to be an immediate fix. It sure as hell wasn't for me. Let me tell you guys. I started working for this nonprofit. I get this great campaign. You guys have heard me share this story a million times. I took their Instagram following plus 400,000 followers in a month. We raised significant funds. But prior to this campaign, I had no self-worth. I thought that, I could never do something like this. A campaign for a nonprofit, they do such great work. I don't want to let anyone down. Where is this, funding coming from? And how can I make this happen? Like, all these things are buzzing around inside of my head. And I took, a good solid night to just cry myself to sleep. If you guys haven't watched my IGTV from last week, definitely encourage you to go back and look at that. I posted it last Friday. I share a little bit more about this story through there. What it comes down to is I didn't have the confidence, but all of these other people at my job saw that I had something within me that could handle this, and they took a chance on me. This is something that I'll never forget. Ooh, I'm getting a little emotional. They took a chance on me and they gave me an opportunity that I thought that I would never have. And when you live in a household where your parents are so unhappy with their careers on a daily basis, you think that it's almost impossible to find a line of work that will lift you up, that will give you life, that will make you happy, right? Oh, you guys can tell it's a little bit of a trigger, but you think that it's almost impossible. When I was sitting at JMU at graduation, I was so afraid to go out into the real world because I knew now the fun half of my life, right, was behind me. And what I had known to be the future was only filled with unhappiness, right, in my career. That's what I expected. That's what I saw. And now I am so thankful every day for this small voice inside of me. As I went into work every day with these amazing people doing such great work that were so fulfilled by the work, and I just wasn't. I had even grown bitter in those first few months. I am not a type of person that is good at a regimented routine, Like, I am not the type of person that wakes up every day and wants to do the same thing. It's not how my brain operates. And when I put myself in that environment, I struggled with a lot of mental health issues and physical health issues, which I have shared many times before. I struggled with high blood pressure. I was definitely moody, not doing well with my physical health, even though I would force myself to work out like at least 4 days a week at 6:30 in the morning, right? And shower at the gym to rush to work. I remember, and I felt that pain. I could feel the pain of that my family felt for years, going to work and maybe that not being the one thing that they want to spend their time doing. And I'm so thankful for that position because that position is part of my story. That position is the reason why I actually have the confidence today to be sitting here in front of you all. And what I shared last week about self-talk, really my self-talk is what got me off the ground, right? Out of the bed, sobbing my eyes out, thinking that I can't handle this, to now going for it. I went to Google, I did my research, I did as much as I possibly could myself, and I hoped for the best. And I told myself every day, all you can do is try. If you don't try and you go to them and you say, I can't handle this campaign, I'm feeling really overwhelmed by this duty, I don't want it, then I would be walking away from a huge opportunity. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that those moments, didn't happen with my boss, right? But they believed in me. They saw something that I couldn't see. And I am so thankful for them for seeing and allowing me to take this journey, right? And without everyday experiences like this campaign could have just been another addition to my resume, right? It could have just been another thing that I threw in to get my next 9 to 5. But I had to tap into myself, check in. Okay, what do I actually want out of life? what the hell do I want my life to look like? I don't want my life to look like getting up at 6:30 in the morning, rushing to the gym, rushing to get my 30-minute workout in, rushing to the shower, rushing to work, rushing to the after-school fundraising, right? That wasn't me. And why was I trying to force myself into this box, right? I am not a box type of person. And if you listen to this podcast, you aren't either. And that's why I love you guys, because we are paving the way of these next generations and showing them that this is doable. This is something that I thought was like a unicorn. It would almost be impossible. Of course, I dreamed about it while I was in college, One day I would love to be a social media manager. I would love to work with businesses. I love creativity. I love building things. I'm very artistic. And that's something I always wanted. But if I didn't let myself have these thoughts, give myself the confidence, right, or even the self-awareness and non-judgment of myself, whatever I wanted, and I gave that to myself, or I moved that needle more closely to my goal every day, wouldn't I feel much better doing that than going back through the job application process? Sean and I took a trip to Europe after I had left this nonprofit position, and I was so ready to just live a European lifestyle. When you go there, it opens up your mind. These people are so kind. We went to Italy, and a lot of people will take 2 to 3 hours during their lunch break to go home and nap and have a glass of wine or two with their family and spend time with their family actually eating. And this was something I learned about when I was in high school, actually, when I took an Italian course, or maybe it was college. I think it was college when I took my Italian language courses as an elective. And we learned about their lifestyle. And I just loved this. Family always came first, not money, not the business, family. And I needed to realign my values. I needed to put society to the side and say, what does Caitlin want? Where do I see myself in 5 years if there were no limitations? Just give yourself this freedom. It's a shame because in this world that we live in, it's very judgmental. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a judgment about somebody else or themselves. And then those judgments end up being passed on from generation to generation, from, friend to friend, from social group to social group. And they end up creating these social constructs of, this is a bad thing and this is a good thing. And this is the path that you should follow. What I love about the Gen Z generation is that they're changing the game. They've been put through a really weird year. It reminds me a lot of a war, right? When you come back from war, when you hear about our ancestors coming back from war, they didn't go back to the same lifestyle that they had because things have changed. Their lives have changed so much. They knew that change would come after because now they look at life differently. This is all about us growing as a society as a whole. It doesn't even have to do with business. It's just about asking yourself, what can I do for me? And how can I also be of service as I do whatever I'm doing for myself? Now, this is definitely something that's a little bit more personal question that I've asked myself. And with Meraki, it made sense. I'm a business owner now, right? I'm a business owner. And when I worked for our local nonprofit, one of their, obviously, right, in any business, what we struggle with is leads. Hello, that's the biggest thing that you focus on, especially when you're just trying to make money and get started. So I knew what business owners needed because I needed that. So then I just started creating my own practices. Okay, I know what business owners need now. Now, how can I produce this on a daily basis? Is there an act that I can take out of this experience with my nonprofit campaign going so viral and do that every day? And that is what built Meraki Media. It's all been out of these very small experiences in my life that have built to growingly impact me as I've gotten older. I think this is actually a really great way to explain trauma, right? Like I was just sharing with you all this experience of seeing my family so unhappy with their work. On a daily basis, I get emotional over it. Of course, I don't want to see them in pain. When you see others in pain and you carry these experiences with you without reframing your mindset around them, they can have really, really subconscious effects on our brain. So what do I mean? If I hadn't reframed this thought about, going out on my own, regardless of what my family thought of at the time, regardless of anyone's input, my friends, LinkedIn, no one, right? I really didn't care. I could not care if I was going to go all in. That was a mindset shift. Because before, right, I would have probably just applied for the next 9 to 5, moved through the motions of everyone else telling me to do this. That's really what they tell you to do. When you graduate from college, they tell you to go into an institution. And that just wasn't for me. That was never going to be me. And I knew it deep down. And that's why I want to encourage you all to push the noise to the side. Stop letting yourself be controlled and influenced by these outside circumstances, because really all that matters in this moment and in your mental health with whatever you're building, your business, your lifestyle, whatever you may be currently building, your career, all that really matters in this is you and your joy and your happiness today. What is affecting you now? And how can you start to ask yourself the right questions to reframe that entire mindset? When I gave myself the freedom to realize that many people move through life in this way, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. This is all what we've been taught, and it's all been learned behavior over so many centuries, so many years. And it will take time, right? This is not, like I said, an overnight fix. But when you see all of this occurring and you see people moving through life, and my own parents so unhappy with what they're doing 5 days out of the week. That's a lot of time, That's a lot of time in your life. Of course, it started to negatively impact them. It even negatively impacted me, right? I'm an only child and I witnessed that. But I was aware enough as I got older of how that affected me and how I wanted to change my life based around those experiences. And what's hard is that a lot of these, experiences are so subconscious or so pushed down for so many years. It takes time for all of this to unfold. But the more that you tap into yourself, the more you start asking these questions about you, asking yourself what you want out of life, what is coming next, right? What do you want to come next versus what Uncle Ben is saying, right, at Thanksgiving dinner and where he thinks you should be in your career. Everybody, like I said in the beginning of this episode, everybody has an opinion. And it doesn't mean that you have to take that opinion, right? Or let that go in or digest that opinion to become a belief of yours. That's how these judgments are passed down, because somebody may say something that will then make you question or make you overthink what you're doing or how you're living your life. And then we become judgmental inside of our head of ourselves just because of these outside conversations. It's only natural, right? We're all human beings. But the more you can say, stop, okay, that's their opinion. That's not my opinion. Now I'm gonna think on that opinion. Maybe when I go home later, I'll meditate on it, I'll journal about it, and then I'll create my own opinion out of that opinion instead of just taking it as it is. As I said in the beginning of this episode as well, I am an only child. So a lot of my time at a young age was spent alone. So that's really why I love being creative. I love having a great imagination, right? And these thoughts are things that I thought about my whole childhood just because of what I witnessed, and I was by myself 90% of the time. So I had a lot of time to think. And as I've gotten older, I've realized what a blessing that was to me at that age, and how much it's really developed me into who I am today. And, hopefully how much I can impact others and help them start to build this, awareness and really become their own coaches. I put this out in my IGTV, so I really hope you guys go check it out from last Friday. But being your own coach is really what it comes down to. You have to be able to identify these thoughts and coach yourself when you need it. I love being my own coach. It helps me figure out, again, what I feel versus what even my business coaches are telling me, what is in alignment for me and what's not. It helps me during a daily basis, right? If I'm in a conversation with someone where I'm triggered and I don't want my reaction to be off the cuff or out of hand, I coach myself down from that. Okay, this is a trigger. This has nothing to do with that other person. It has everything to do about you. Swallow that for a second, and we'll deal with that later when we have time. This is all how I've started since I was a very young age to coach myself. I definitely would say that most of my family, I also help with this, and they all have struggled with things in their past, and everybody has a story. And that's what it comes down to, is that we all have things, right, that we've been through. We all have a story. We all have been impacted by society, our parents, these judgments, right, to some level. They've all affected us. But the more we can coach ourselves out of them and keep that end goal in mind, which is always our goal, right? That's always what we come back to keep that overarching view of life and not get stuck in the immediate. That is what's going to help you move the needle in your business, move the needle in your lifestyle, move the needle in your career. When you think about how many people climb the corporate ladder or, maybe enter into a nonprofit job and they don't, know if that's where they want to be or know if that's what they want to do next, but maybe they're just figuring it out, and that's okay as well. There's always a piece of this journey. It doesn't have to be, like I said, immediate. Just keep that overarching end goal in mind. It will hopefully help keep the anxiety down as well, because starting a business is real. It brings up a lot of things, a lot of crap that you don't expect. And that is why the end in mind is so important for me. And that's why I wanted to share this story today with all of you, so that you can hopefully keep your end in mind as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to our show. Next show, I will be pulling our winner for our 90-minute sit down. Thank you guys so much for putting in your Apple Podcast reviews. You do still have a few more days, I believe. This will come out Wednesday, and I will be recording next Friday. So you have a day to get your Apple Podcast review in. Make sure you put your Instagram handle in there, and we will contact you through Instagram. I'll also share on the podcast next week who is our winner. So shout out, yay. And I just appreciate all of your, feedback and kind words in the comments. I feel so emotional about this show because I'm just so passionate about everything that we talk about on here, and to see it being extended out to our community, it's just so rewarding. And I just love you guys so much. I'm so happy that what I'm able to share with you is hopefully making an impact on your life. So if it is, take a second, leave us a review if you don't mind. Next week, I'll be sharing what we will be doing with our next round of reviews, which will be really fun. I'm super excited to share it with you guys. It's actually one of my favorite places to grab a sweet drink. So I'm thinking that we'll do a little giveaway for anybody that enjoys the show, but you guys can tune in next week to find out more about that. So I will talk to you guys later, and thanks so much for your time. Thanks Thank you so much for listening to The End in Mind. I would like to remind you all, if you haven't yet reached out to me on Instagram, we are at Meraki_media_management. It will be in our show notes as well. If you would like to reach out to me, we always offer free coaching through Instagram based around our Instagram training and our business Instagram practices. If you need any type of support, please do not hesitate to reach out to me there. And we also offer several different types of consulting and training packages if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth tips. So thank you all for listening in, and of course, I want you all to keep the end in mind as you continue with your day and or work week. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.